Hey folks, this is Jason Lewis, the producer of the From the Shadows podcast. I just want to remind you about our website, fromtheshadowspodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. We would appreciate it if you like and follow. Also, join our discussion group on Facebook called After the Shadows. We have a Twitter feed. Please follow us on Twitter. It can be found with @podcast_from. Follow us on Instagram at From the Shadows Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Go to the search bar at YouTube and put From the Shadows Podcast, and please subscribe to that channel. We are also on the Odyssey Radio Network, and we can be found there at odyssey1.com. We're still on the traditional podcatchers that everybody loves to listen to us on. We get a lot of feedback, so please rate the podcast and communicate with whether you're on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. We're there, and we appreciate it when you leave comments for us. We also have a Patreon page. It can be found at www.patreon.com/FromTheShadows. You can receive books, stickers, coffee mugs, and special content just for our Patreon subscribers. Check it out for yourself and see what packages that we have to offer. Well, that's all I have for you right now, folks, and thanks for being a part of the From the Shadows podcast family. So with that being said, let's get this episode started.
So how last week we were talking about the older generation of your family liking to fight. I mean, is it still that way in your family?
Well, yes and no. And what I mean by that is a lot of the older ones are still around. They still in their mind think they can do what they could 40 or 50 years ago, right?
Yeah, well, that's reasonable.
You know what I mean? That's common.
Yeah.
But they don't realize the impact they've had raising kids and grandkids with that attitude, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in my uncle's office the other day, and we were talking about actually a construction project of all things. And he's got an office full of vinyl LPs, Mo Bandy, Hank Jr., a lot of them signed. He's just got an office full of, an ornate oak-clad office full of hunting paraphernalia that he inherited from the guy that had the office before him. There's a full amount of wild turkey on the wall flying and all this Ducks Unlimited stuff. I mean, it's a real cool office, but none of that was his. His is the country music and classic car stuff. So I was.
He's a real man's man, then, right? Yeah, that's
country. Yeah, I mean, well, he's got a '57 Chevy. He's got the real deal classic car, but he won it on a raffle. It was a Boy Scout raffle for $50, and he's the guy, where they only sell 1,000 of them.
Oh yeah.
So he's the guy that won the custom car, and but he's a connoisseur of country music and all things, simple in life. So I mentioned, I started off by mentioning, David's name.
Yeah.
And then, he tells a David story. And then he was telling me just how many of those people he had, where he'd met them and different things. And I said, well, were they all pretty cool? And he goes, no, that one right down there is the worst one of the bunch.
Yeah, who was that? Who was he?
Should I say his name on our podcast?
Might as well. I mean,
and
look,
if
he told you a David Allan Coe story and still pointed to somebody else and said he was the worst one of the bunch, I gotta know.
He told the world needs to know story. He told me the David Allan Coe story, which I'm not going to tell on this.
Okay.
And, because David, you don't want me to tell David's story.
No, because then you'll make me tell a couple David stories.
No, we're not going to tell David's sacred cow. David's sacred cow. So, but from what I've heard, David was the wildest of the bunch. You would think, right?
I've been front and center for a couple of.
My uncle looks at the right guy and says, "That guy Gene Watson on the bottom was twice the ass that David was.
Gene Watson? Oh man, okay.
And
I gotta hear
I felt bad because I had to get my phone out and Google up who Gene Watson was because I don't even remember what he sung. And I said, "How's that?" And he says, "Well, you know where there's a." And you'd have to go to my hometown to know where, I'm going to leave out a bunch of stuff. But there was an old bar that they turned into it's in like a warehouse. When I was a little kid, it was a warehouse. The warehouse went out and it turned into a bar. And now they turned it into a place with like 40 10 top tables or whatever in a stage. And they get these performers in there, right? And it could be anybody, whoever, but the old country people seem to do the best, because people like my uncle, they buy a whole table, 10 tickets. I think he told me is $300 or $400, depending on who it was. He buys the whole table and then gives the tickets to whoever he wants to go concert with. And he brings my grandma, my dad's mom, to a lot of these country concerts. And, my grandma just turned 88 or will be 88 this August. And she goes to the before COVID, she would, whatever, old guy was playing. So my uncle says he's there at this place. And my aunt, his little sister, everybody starts to get up and, concert's over and Gene Watson and his like publicist or his female handler is there and they're signing autographs and taking pictures. And my aunt they had these fake, like plastic floral arrangements that had the name of the table, whoever bought the table in. So when you went in there, you knew which table was yours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, my uncle says my aunt wants to take that little thing because it's got her name on it. Because when he bought the table, he used her name because she was going to get off work before him. And she's going to be the first one there. Well, he said this little Korean gal is picking up. Says she can't have it. And he said, my aunt's had a few drinks. And she says, what the heck do you mean I can't have it? It's got my name on it. It's mine. It's got my name on it. And the Korean girl, no, it's no, not yours. No, yours. No, yours. And my aunt was like, the hell it ain't. It's got my name on it. And the girl goes, we put it there. And he said, he's just giving me the background that they're already in hot water with the people that run this place. Because crazy aunt full of Kansas City Chiefs gear gets into it with a Korean girl over this little 2-cent plastic thing.
Yeah, okay.
That they're just going to throw away anyway. Because I guess that's the answer. Well, you just throw it away anyway. And it went on and on and on. He said, so finally the owner came out there and said, what's going on? And they said, it's about this plastic thing. And the owner says, well, you can have it. And my aunt says, well, hell, I don't want it no more. That time's passed. Because he said the owner got out there and realized it was my uncle who religiously buys tickets to 6 to 10 concerts a year. You know what I mean?
Spends lots of money, man.
He spends spends lots of money, so he's gonna let her have the thing. So he said they stand in line. They're gonna be the last people. Grandma wants to get her picture taken. She's got this wall of pictures with all these old has-beens. And he said Gene's sitting up there, and he's just grumpy and mean looking, and he don't want to talk to people. They're trying to be nice to him, and he just, here's your autograph, take the picture next. So my uncle says he gets up there and he tells him, he says, hey, you ought to smile a little. It ain't going to hurt you to smile.
Oh boy.
And Gene Watson says, what the F are you talking about? And he goes, well, a lot of people paid a lot of money to see you, and hell, you just got to keep a game face on for an hour or two. You ought to be happy. And he said the gal behind him says, oh, we're done with the pictures. We're done. And my uncle says, what the hell do you mean? We were waiting in line this whole time. Nope, we're done. And my uncle says, that's what I'm talking about. He said, and at that time, my grandma was 84. He says, you got an 84-year-old woman been waiting in line for 45 minutes to get up here, and you're too fat and lazy to take her picture. And the gal goes, hey, you can't talk to him like that. And he said, well, I just did, lady. Prove me wrong. Take a picture. So he says the publicist ran over to get somebody. She says, well, I'm going to get somebody. You're not going to talk to us like that. So she says she runs over to get somebody, and she brings back the little Korean girl that they got into it about the table. You know what I mean? The floral bouquet 10, 15 minutes earlier. And then Colonel Green goes, "Oh, it's you people again."
Oh my God.
And my uncle is saying, "That's right." At the same time, my drunk aunt says, "What's that supposed to mean, you people?"
Oh boy.
And she says, "You people cause trouble. We call the police." And she says, "Well, call them. Better call 4 or 5 of them because there's 10 of us." And she says, "No, we serious. We call police on you." And she says, "I know I'm serious. You better call at least 5 or 6 of them because there's 10 of us." And then she says, as my aunt's taking this front stage, arguing with the Korean girl and the publicist, my uncle tells my grandma, "Hey, you sneak behind him." Gene, because Gene still don't get out of the chair. "You sneak behind him and we'll take your picture." So his 84-year-old grandma skirts and flanks him. The flanking maneuver. He takes out his phone and takes a couple iPhone pictures of
So she
grandma
got her,
behind Gene Watson anyway. Oh my God, I'll show you.
so she got her picture with old Gene Watson.
Yeah, they never did call the cop because then the owner come out there and said, "What's going on?" And the Korean girl, "You call the police." They said, "Call the police." And he's like, "I'm not calling the police."
Oh my God. And you know what? Gene Watson probably got paid $15,000 for that show, and is still unhappy.
I was going to say we were adding up. My uncle said on average, there's full capacity is 400, and the minimum ticket's 40. Or if you buy the whole table, it's $40 a piece. But if you buy them individually, they're $50.
Yeah.
So he got between 16 and 20,000 bucks, or somebody did. I don't know what the split is or whatever.
He probably got 15,000 of that, and then did it cost you extra to get in line and get a picture taken, or was that part of the deal?
I didn't ask.
So look, man, when we get to a show and people are standing in line, whether it's 1 or 2 or 100 for us to take pictures and sign autographs, we just got to remember that. We got to treat everybody like.
Well, more than that. I mean, you're looking at more of a biblical sense. Treat people as you want to be treated, or whatever. I look at the other side. Just because these old decrepit people are standing in front of you. I mean, I'm worried about the next one going off. You know what I mean? I've seen some old people do stuff. You know what I mean? This might be the one.
Yeah.
And this guy, I mean, he ain't got nothing to lose, right?
That's right.
You just don't know, right? I'm related to people like this.
You don't know when an old lady's going to pull brick out of her purse and smack you upside the head with it.
Well, I wouldn't say brick, but 38 for sure. I mean, any given time. I mean, I got relatives that pack pistols. They think they're Jason Bourne or they're going to be Miami Vice or something. I mean, you wouldn't just concealed carry stuff went into business a few years ago. I mean, I've got so many people that I know that carry guns that probably I'm going to step on some toes because I'm a big 2A guy. But at the same time, there's cats out there carrying these guns that maybe shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Hey, look, you're preaching to the choir. Got it.
I mean, I mean, I don't want to talk bad about my family, but I'm telling you, I got some 65-plus-year-old aunts. Okay, so I'm putting them in older than 65, going all the way up to 70, 71, 72, that carry guns in their car, in their purse, both places, whatever. And it's like, I don't know, but at the same time, they got to have a backup camera to back out of a parking spot, but they're going to have a gunfight. I mean, they got a freaking medical alert tag and three dog tags saying "do not resuscitate." I got sugar diabetes and a heart murmur,
but they got a gun.
And a T-shirt that says "you never raped a 38." You know what I mean? Insanity. I mean, absolute insanity out there. I mean. I just, it's a rough world we got. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.